We also encourage the town to post the meeting minutes of all of the other committees. In addition, we had an email listserv we used to talk amongst ourselves. I have created a text archive of this listserv and given the CD to Brian. He in turn is going to give it to the town clerk, and it's going to be stored here. And these should only be accessed by requests under the Maryland Public Information Act. So now that we're done, we encourage the town to quickly move on an RFP and a redesign process because it's going to be time consuming. We are at your mercy, your leisure. Would you care for us to continue again to help with the RFP process, or should we just stand?
I guess let us, at this point, first of all, let me just say thank you for the time you put forth in this, William. There's certainly, there's a lot of information in there that, as I looked through the last couple package that you provided to the town, and at the special meeting that was held, there's things that I've heard people discuss, whether it's been at the business association meeting or, where the occasion may have been. People have certainly taken some very useful information away from what's been put together. So again, thank you and to the committee for your work that you put forth. I guess at this point, what I'd like to do is just now put this before the council and to see what comments that they have with respect to, how do we move forward? Do we keep it as one site? Do we break it up as 2 sites? Do we do the RFP process? I want to know what there's, with respect to the business association, if anybody has any input from conversations with them. So let's allow the board to go at this point, and if there's anything else that you want to add, otherwise I'd like to go ahead and hear from the council as to what their thoughts are.
Should I stay here or?
You can hang around in the event any more questions do pop up, or we may certainly require your input.
Brian, as liaison, what's your input?
I think we should move forward with the committee's recommendations. And one would be to take ownership of the rockallmd.com. I know we've had some discussion with Mike and the private businesses that are on there. How would that work, Mike?
I can turn, you own rockallmd.com, always have, in the sense of, I don't want it. Okay, it was originally put together through ease that it ran under CBI 15 years ago. It can be in your name in 24 hours.
Right. I
Simple as that.
You said that.
It's easy to do. I need to have confirmation from the council and who they want the name to be under. As far as they require a name. It can be the entity of town manager or town clerk, but they still require a real name when they do this.
Do we have some businesses that are paying you for upgrades, maintenance?
There are, the original concept through the mayor and council allowed a small number of small businesses to have their website hanging under Rock Hall. It costs the town nothing to do this. The town, they pay me a small fee to maintain their sites. They can be moved, it'll take the process of getting them domain names, et cetera, et cetera. But this was never anything that cost the town a nickel. It was done as a way to support the small businesses in the town, and that's the way it's been. So I have no problem, I can move them off, or they can choose to not, or choose to do it themselves. It's this issue of giving them some time to get something done.
Right, and that's my thought. I don't want to move forward unless we give these businesses some time to digest this.
Right, what they want to do. I mean, it's not that difficult to do. It's, when we started this, it was relatively expensive to do to have independent websites. It's no longer that expensive anymore. So it can be affordable to them to do it. Before it was not affordable for them to do it. So it's up to, they can choose to do what they want. You can choose, as the town can decide what to do with them. I mean, if you tell me tomorrow to take them off, we can shut them down tomorrow. But that would be an unfair thing to do.
Well, I think one thing, though, throughout this is to hear what the business association, to take certainly their input on this as well. And I think that, that's a group that's, assembled and has been assembled for many years, and their role really is to, in turn, to promote and ensure the stability of the businesses in the town. And, I've heard from Linda and Pat that they very much would like to see the website fall over to their area or the marketing side of it, so that they could have the role in the facilitating of it. And I would venture to say still with, you know, with assistance through William and however else, but I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from the Business Association. I would like to see personally the website come apart into the sense that you do have the .com, and that can be really put forth to the businesses where that's doing the commerce, that's the business aspect of it. And I think the .gov is where the town should look at setting that up. And from there, we can in turn establish, you know, our own domain, and, you know, we can in turn have, you know, a government page that's dedicated just to that, and having the two really separated from one another. We've often said before that you know, the business page, the tourism page, the Rock Hall page, often at times just gets covered with a lot of ordinance updates and a lot of other public hearings that go on, and these two certainly should be separate from one another. They should be you know, one should do just what its part is, which is to promote the business community, and one should be one that's accessible and easily at that by the folks that want to go onto the town's government page.
We had a whole paragraph about this in our report.
So does the board want to take any action tonight, or is the board looking to, you know, now that the website committee has made their presentation, do you all want to take the time at the next meeting, or is the board willing or ready to vote this evening?
I think it's really important that we follow this committee's timeline, and one of the things for February is to move forward with the plan. I also think that we should have them involved with the RFP process. We got a lot of technical knowledge on that committee, as well as anybody else that wants to join. So I think it's important that we follow the committee's recommendations and the timeline they've outlined.
I'd like to make two comments. One, when Mike was talking about moving the site, on the subject of moving the site, I definitely agree with him. Don't just yank them tomorrow. It is absolutely not my recommendation that you moved up immediately. So,
I don't think anybody would be
Okay.
certainly part of that.
you know, a gradual smooth process, that would be a very good thing. And on the topic of the Greater Rock Hall Business Association, we do indeed think they should be involved. On page 22, some members of the GRHBA have suggested that the town should give money from its own budget to the Business Association, who would then be in charge of the tourism website for Rock Hall. We do not recommend this. First, this could potentially be seen as a gimmick to evade the procurement rules. Secondly, the Business Association would be given taxpayer money yet have no accountability on how it is spent. Despite the prevalent attitude among Business Association members that lodging taxes should be spent by the tourism businesses themselves, in reality is that these taxes are collected by law and the town has the sole authority on how to spend them. In fact, the 2014 budget contains tourism-related expenses of over $57,000, while the lodging tax is projected to only be $32,000. Thirdly, there is a concern that only the Business Association members would be listed on the website. If the Business Association wants to be in control of a tourism site for the town, we recommend that it be funded in a self-sufficient manner, similar to other chambers of commerce. For example, they could charge an annual fee to any businesses whose link is posted on the site. This would guarantee equal opportunity and also ensure that when businesses close and no longer pay the fee, they would be removed from the site. Separating the website into two domains will allow the future possibility for the town to transfer ownership to the Business Association if they're willing to fund it without taxpayer money. In the meantime, the town should proceed with its own website, including a business directory for visitors.
I think that you know, in the spirit of the town's relationship with the Business Association, it's something that we should continue to fund as we've done in the past. The tax dollars have always been a good investment, the hotel tax dollars, that is, a good investment with the business association, and it's my recommendation that we don't change that. We continue that means of support to the association.
So, I mean, what are you saying?
Well, I think that again, it's something that we're gonna have to think through as to the role of the business association, and maybe what we do is we maybe have Linda and Pat come into the next meeting.
Well, there's no
and-
doubt that they have to be involved in this process with, you know, with all the businesses. And I'm sure that they would probably be willing to be part of this focus group that will help us, you know, update the information for businesses and. be
But I'm
involved
just,
in that.
I'm passing on the, and I support it greatly, which is what something Linda has proposed or has suggested, requested, if you will, that being that they continue to be the group that does that really does the oversight of the business page. And that position has been, Linda's very steadfast in her position on that.
So if we bid this out, I mean, that, and come up with a vendor that's gonna be charging us $10,000 a year, that's gonna free up some funds. You're recommending still give them that money?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things we saw is, as we're looking at these numbers, we saw in the presentation that was given by the web committee, a fee as to what it would cost them on some various towns to set up a municipal site. We've seen from Mike's put in a proposal, at least from the standpoint as to, if this body were to separate out having a web or a tourism site and a government site, the tourism site appears that it would, fall under probably the $5,000, or at least as it's been presented to us, it would fall under the $5,000 RFP requirement. But the second thing is, yes, I would like to see it in turn, what the cost that they assume as this site is broken up, that we fund that cost. Because again, it does go to tourism, and, or the tourism dollars is really geared towards, just as it says, the hotel tax rather, which is tourism, and I think that's what the business association is doing, is, is they're promoting the tourism. And I think there's gonna be a lot of, one of the things that we know is there's always a continual change, there's always updates, and I think, you're going to really want, and I would venture to say they're probably gonna have a subcommittee that could be, inclusive of this focus group, if that's what you speak of, William. But really, that's gonna be the entity that's really gonna drive that page. I mean, there's nobody else better to know the new businesses that are coming into town, the ones that aren't, all the events that are occurring, the very things that they do to promote, the really a sound economy in the town.
I would like to have until the next workshop, beginning of time, to really look at this.
Well, at the very least, can we get the rockhollandv.com domain listed under the clerk treasurer?
Yeah.
And maintain those business sites until we can get them notice that they'll be dropped off.
Yes.
All right,
That
so,
I agree with.
And that will allow us to then, also meet the committee's recommendations of getting the town government, officials and employees under the rockhollandv.com.
That's not true. If you're going to, you just said you want to split the site into two sites. So you would want the government employees to be under either .gov or .maryland.us, whichever one you choose.
.gov.
Well, that's fine, but
Now, you can you can easily obtain that domain and use it just for email in a relatively short time. So if you don't necessarily have to have a website right away. You can create the domain, you can create the emails at the .gov or whatever one you want to do. Then you can set up and establish those email accounts. You can establish whatever process you want to use for iCarvo or purposes. And you can simply point that domain temporarily back to the MD domain, so there's a page there. But the domain, the email accounts can be created under whichever domain you want. And then you can start your archiving process, you can start whatever you want to do. as I pointed out in my email that I sent to the board, the .gov will take longer to obtain because you literally have to go through the government GSA to get it. I spoke with some people over there, and the committee that actually accepts your application, they approve it the same day. But then it has to go to the GSA, and it comes back in a week, 2 weeks, whenever they feel like. It also will cost you more money because the GSA charges $125 a year for the domain. If you go with rockhall.maryland. Wait a minute. Yeah, rockhall.maryland.gov. That is Maryland.gov is owned by the state of Maryland and run by the state of Maryland. They will issue that subdomain to Rock Hall if they wish to use it, and that is no charge. Makes your name a bit longer, but it does. There's an effort in Maryland government to try to, if they can, start to merge the government entities into this domain name so there's a similar process. So there's, like Frederick may have one, a couple other counties have them. It's just a process of trying to move people, so there's, you understand that government is Maryland.gov, whether it's the county or the state or the city. That's an option. You don't have to do it, but they're trying to move that process forward.
I think it's something that we should look at is moving towards the .gov. I mean, at least if everybody's in agreement that we're gonna separate out the two, we'll have one for .com and one for .gov. So as we do talk about, as we hear that we wanna certainly expedite this, we certainly wanna take into consideration members' time to make that decision. Is there any reason why we can't in turn move forward to get the .gov set up?
I just want to point out that in our recommendations, we recommended that a policy be set for email archiving, and this is really important, as I'm sure Chip knows. And there are guidelines on the Maryland website that we linked to that make it really easy to make such a policy. That should really be in place before email archiving begins. But I also wanted to address the domain name thing, suggested if the private clients could be off by the time the new website starts, that might be a reasonable deadline. And the last thing I want to mention is about the focus group, is that we suggested that it have a wide array of stakeholders, and I think that that's more fair than just the Greater Rock Hall Business Association, although there will certainly be overlap, and having a balance of different types of stakeholders and really trying to reach out to exactly every different kind of business, whether it's a marina, whether it's lodging, whether it's even a retail shop, like really trying to get a representative from every business rather than just asking the Greater Rock Hall Business Association for, whoever volunteers. I think it really would be better for the town to try to create that focus group and get that balanced representation.
And I think more along those lines, it would be wise for the business association to reach out and bring members in outside of what is just within the group of the business association. Going back to the association, I think there no better group who knows of, because they really do get fed all the information of events that continually happen. And if the objective is to really, again, just make a hard press, day-to-day, 365 of promoting what goes on at Rock Hall, we've got to really be inclusive as we move out.
Yeah, but my point was to be more inclusive is to go beyond the Greater Rock Hall Business Association.
Well, we got to have somebody who is there, in that for all this information that comes
Our
forth.
recommendation is for the town staff to manage the focus group, so that
I think that's one of the challenges that we have before us today. We know that, for the town staff, they've got a heavy load, and to in turn impose more of a workload on them. We don't want to dilute what could be the promotion of business and then the services that they have to provide within the building. Michael?
I'd like to try to put this to rest one last time. I've done this over and over again. From the very beginning, there was never any restriction on someone who could participate in the website by either the Rock Hall Business Association or CBIA. The only restriction that was there was by the committee who formed the website in the town, what kinds of businesses are going to be marketed to the public. So if your business was not one at that time, did not fit into the categories that were considered the tourism array, there was no place to put them. There was nobody saying you can't be on it. There was simply no place to put them. Now, if times change and you want to create a system where every business is on there, whether it has any relationship to a tourism business or not, it just comes to Yellow Pages, that can be done. It's going to be bulkier, it's going to be not as efficient to use for the people using the website particularly, but it certainly can be done. But there was never, ever any restrictive policy about who could be on the website.
Good, okay.